Hi there, I'm Vincent Bos and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing, does your dumper feel deep pain? I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Subscribe to my weekly support emails. The link is in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing, does your dumper feel deep pain? So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you are likely feeling a lot of pain. But does your ex? In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 points to consider about whether your ex-dumper feels deep pain. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is it's not the same. So it's important to start off by saying the feelings that you, the dumpee, are experiencing right now are not the same as what your ex-dumper is going through right now. But that's not to say that your ex-dumper doesn't feel pain. And certainly, they can be feeling very, very deep pain, but it is different. Now, we're going to be going through today's podcast where I will be explaining if, where, and when your ex is likely to feel that deepest pain. But first of all, we just need to go over the fact that you can both be suffering in different ways. You as a dumpee might be thinking, well, why are they suffering at all? This was their choice. I'm going through this agony because I've been discarded, I've been rejected. They ended the relationship that I never wanted to end. This was their decision. So how can they be feeling that pain just as I'm feeling it? I'm going through agony. How on earth can they be going through that agony? And this is what point number 1 is about. You are not feeling the same pain. This isn't a competition. And I'm also not suggesting that they are feeling it worse than you, but they can still feel deep pain, just in a different way, for a different reason, which, as I've mentioned, we will be getting into very shortly. What you're experiencing as a dumpee is a combination of feelings very similar to grief and drug withdrawal. This isn't the same as what your ex-dumper is going through. As you would rightly think, they made this choice. This was their decision. This is something that they didn't technically have to do, although your ex-dumper would perhaps suggest that although technically they didn't have to do it, they felt they needed to do it. And therefore, did they have to do it? Well, maybe they feel that they actually did. They felt they was pushed into a corner where the options were live a life where they are not feeling fulfilled or satisfied, or taking that leap of faith and experiencing life in a different way. You as a dumpee may or may not have seen this coming. Lots of dumpees tell me they didn't see it coming. It was out of the blue. They never felt it could happen. In fact, a lot of dumpees actually say that they could have ended the relationship. In an alternative reality, they would have been the dumper. And they can't believe the audacity that their ex has actually taken that role, because they themselves felt, if anything, they had more right to end the relationship. And this is another reason as for why dumpees can be feeling this agony. It's not just because you feel rejected. It's not just because you feel discarded. It's not because you didn't see it coming. It's because you think, how dare you? How dare you end this relationship when I'm the one who, if anybody, should have been ending it? So all of these feelings and more combine as for why you, the dumpee, are going through the pain you're going through. So as I've said, I'm not trying to take that away. I know you're going through this very difficult time. I'm not trying to compare and say that your ex-dumper is going through the same or the same level of agony that you experience. But it would be wrong to say that they don't feel deep pain. So when I'm asked the question, does my ex feel pain? Yes, they often do. Does my ex-dumper feel deep pain? Yes, they often do. Now you might be thinking, well, if they feel this deep pain, why didn't they just want to have a discussion? Why didn't they just try and work through the situation that we find ourselves in. Why is my dumper throwing everything away? Now that is a good question. It's a good point to raise. Maybe there are multiple factors. Some people suggest the day and age we live in is much of a throwaway culture as a whole. People might say, well, in the past, people would try and maintain things, whether it is an object, whether it is a relationship. But now, people seem very quick to throw things away because there seems to be a plentiful amount of options. The fact that we have online dating makes people believe that, okay, this isn't working, right, let's throw that away, let's find someone new. Now, I'm not here to say this is the reason your ex ended the relationship the way they did, or whether it isn't. Maybe it has a role, but what I can say is that your ex-dumper is going to struggle to find a connection, anything like the one they had with you, anytime soon. From my own research, it's very difficult indeed to find a long-term compatible partner within a year or so post-breakup. So whether this is from your perspective or your ex-dumper's perspective, it's very unlikely that either of you will find a new long-term compatible partner within that first year or so. And for those dumpees who are saying, well, my ex is already with someone new. Now that's terrible, that's extra painful for you, but it doesn't mean it's going to last. Now I would suggest that there is a very strong possibility that if your ex is with someone new already, it is a rebound relationship and this will burn out almost as quickly as it began. Certainly within the year of it beginning, I would be very surprised if they are in this new relationship from that point. Now, can I guarantee this? No, of course I can't. Nothing in this world can be guaranteed. But statistically speaking, if your ex is with someone new now, try not to freak out, dumpees. The likelihood is it isn't going to last. So focus on you rather than them. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube. And if you have the new hype feature, please hype this video as well. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number 2 is the breakup moment. So today we're speaking about trying to answer the question, does your dumper feel deep pain? And now we're going to be getting into the moment where they are most likely to be feeling this deep pain initially. And that is the breakup moment. The moment they actioned the breakup. Now this might really shock you, dumpees, because we've already touched on the fact that this is your ex's decision. They made that choice. They technically didn't have to do this. Even though your dumper may argue against it and say, well, maybe I didn't have to do it, but in my heart I felt I had to because I wanted to live a life which was fulfilling and satisfying, and I didn't feel it was in this relationship. So that to one side, why would your ex-dumper feel deep pain during the breakup moment when it's something they don't have to do? Why put yourself through that? Well, partly because we've already touched upon that they feel they need to do this if they're going to have any chance of living a life where they feel full happiness. You might argue with this, dumpees, but at the end of the day, your dumper ended the relationship because they lost romantic emotional attraction. This can't be argued. Whether or not you believe this is the situation, well, it is. People don't end relationships that they are fully satisfied in. So sadly, your ex lost romantic emotional attraction, and when it hit the necessary low point, they actioned the breakup. This breakup moment is when your dumper could quite possibly be feeling deep pain because they don't want to hurt you. You know, dumpees often say, well, my ex wanted to hurt me. They really wanted to make this painful. Well, that is a very minority of instances. It's not likely. Most dumpers do not want to hurt their dumpees. Most dumpers feel very bad about the breakup moment. Remember, they don't really want to do this, but they feel they have to. Okay, so they made this decision, they've actioned the breakup, they've seen, probably with their own eyes if this was face to face, or if they didn't do it that way, if they did it over text or a call, I'm sure they would know and feel it as it is that you are going through agony, you're going through breakup pain. They don't want to see this. They don't want to feel this themselves they don't want to see how you are unfortunately feeling and falling apart right now. This doesn't make them feel good. It hurts them. This is about deep pain. Now you might think, well, if they don't want to cause deep pain, why do it? Well, without going around in circles, it's because they feel they have no choice. They want to live a life where they feel happiness and fulfillment. They're not feeling it right now, so they're actioning that breakup. So what does this mean during that breakup moment? Well, you have been dumped. You're the dumpee. You're feeling this pain, this agonizing rejection, but they are feeling terrible for what they've done for you. However, it doesn't mean that they now feel you are romantically connected. It doesn't mean that they now feel, actually, I've made a bad choice, we should get back together, or I should never actually have done it. The reason is because they've not regrown romantic emotional attraction in this very instance. Just because they're feeling bad about ending the relationship, just because they feel devastated seeing how terribly you are feeling, it doesn't mean they've grown romantic emotional attraction. It doesn't mean it's regrown and it's hit the necessary high point, which is the only reason that they will want to reconnect. So this is what you have to understand, dumpees. There can be a situation where your ex feels deep pain, as in the breakup moment, but they don't regret their decision. They don't regret it because they are still feeling the same way about your relationship. Unfortunately, in this instance, they do not feel you're working together. It doesn't mean you weren't working together in the past. It doesn't mean you can't work well together in the future. But in this moment, they have decided the relationship is not working. And this is something that as a dumpee, we have no choice but to respect, acknowledge, and understand, because if we try to argue against it, what we find is that we are chasing our ex. We are begging, pleading, reasoning, and none of this is going to help you. It's only going to reduce romantic emotional attraction even further in your ex-dumper's mind than it already is. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is the realization. So today we're speaking and about trying to answer the question, does your ex-dumper feel deep pain? And point number 3 is where they are likely going to feel the pain, which is not only deep, but can actually change the course of history. It changes the course of history because if your ex-dumper comes to the realization that they do regret their decision, this could mean you one day get back together. I refer to this as the crossroads, a moment in time where your ex-dumper has to consider, did I make the right choice? For a while, they can block it from their mind. Yes, they might feel pain, but they move into something which I call the single honeymoon period as soon as the breakup takes place. They're living the life that they thought they wanted. They're living the life that they decided they was going to take that leap of faith. This is something they felt was necessary. They felt it was going to be their best option. But eventually, they will have to look into that metaphorical mirror. Is this the right choice? Did I do the right thing? Now, when does this happen? Well, it tends to happen 6 to 12 months post-breakup. Now, this could be further along than that, it could be sooner. But generally, as an average, we're looking at 6 to 12 months. If you are chasing your ex during this time, if you are annoying them, if you are continuing to lower that level of romantic emotional attraction that they feel for you, well, when we get to this crossroads, we're going to be looking into the mirror and thinking, actually, I made the right choice. I decided to end the relationship, and although things might not have been plain sailing for me since then, well, I think I made the right choice. And that, unfortunately, is when, as a dumpee, you might never hear from your ex again. However, for those dumpees who live their life the best way they can, they live their life the right way to increase the chance of growing romantic emotional attraction in their ex's mind rather than reducing it, well, when your ex-dumper hits the crossroads, this is when they might self-reflect and decide the realization has hit them. I made the wrong decision. This is not what I should have done, and I now regret it. This is when deep pain can hit your ex-dumper like never before. Now, the difference between when they feel it at the time of a breakup and when they feel it at the time of a realization is that now they have regrown romantic emotional attraction. Your behavior as a dumpee has grown it in their mind. You have implemented my version of the no contact rule. This has grown it in their mind. The circumstances that your ex-dumper has lived through has helped you. This is the element that we have no real control over. What they do post-breakup, that's something that we can't control. But if it has played into your favor, this is when they're going to be feeling that pain. So if we consider it as a whole, you have a part to play, dumpees. But we can't predict the future fully because we also have to have the dumper's input post-breakup. Is it going to go your way? Is it not? Well, we can't say for certain. But you can only control the controllables. You can only do what you can do to help your side of the equation. So how much influence does a dumpee have on a dumper's decision? Well, I would say significant. Because if you don't do your best, they certainly won't get to that decision. If you do, well, it can't be guaranteed they'll come to the choice you want, but it certainly gives you a much better chance. And that's why we need to live our life in a way which increases our chance of success. That's all we can do, and that's what we must do. But if and when your ex-dumper realizes they've made a mistake, they regret their decision, the level of romantic emotional attraction in their mind is now at the necessary high point. It wasn't at the time of a breakup. They may have felt bad, they may have felt terrible, they may have felt deep pain back then, but they didn't feel attraction, so they wouldn't have reversed their decision. But now, if it gets to this stage, well, they're feeling that longing for you, they're missing you, and this is how you can get your ex back.